Did you know that over 70% of renters believe their rent is set in stone, never to be budged? It's a common misconception, but one that could be costing you hundreds, even thousands each year. In this video, we'll reveal how market conditions and your tenant profile can actually unlock opportunities to negotiate your rent, empowering you to challenge this assumption and potentially save a significant amount of money. If you find this helpful, consider subscribing. We break down finance topics like this every week. And drop a comment with your biggest question about rent negotiation. Let's start by debunking the myth that rent is non-negotiable. For years, we've been told that rent is a fixed cost, like a utility bill. But the reality is, especially in 2026, market conditions can give you real leverage. Landlords want good tenants, and if there are a lot of empty apartments in your area, they're often more willing to work with you. Think of it like this. If a store has too much inventory, they're more likely to offer discounts. Your apartment building is no different. We'll dive into how to research comparable rents, understand local vacancy rates, and highlight your value as a tenant. Always paying on time, being a quiet resident, that all counts. The rental market in 2026 presents a unique landscape where informed renters can find significant opportunities for negotiation. While many assume rent is fixed, understanding the underlying economic forces reveals a different story. Did you know that an increase in housing inventory can directly translate to more tenant leverage? Consider the concept of vacancy rates. When more apartments are sitting empty, landlords face increased pressure to secure tenants. Data from the National Association of Realtors indicated that in early 2024, the national apartment vacancy rate hovered around 5.5%. While this fluctuates, a rising rate generally signals a renter's market. This means landlords are often more willing to discuss terms to avoid prolonged vacancies, which represent lost income. Furthermore, a renter's own value proposition plays a crucial role. A history of on-time payments, a track record of being a responsible and quiet tenant, and maintaining the property can all be presented as compelling reasons for a landlord to retain that tenant. These are not just good habits, they are valuable assets from a property owner's perspective. After all, finding and vetting new tenants comes with its own costs and risks. This creates an environment where a proactive approach, armed with market knowledge, can lead to substantial savings. Understanding the local rental market is the cornerstone of any successful rent negotiation. It's about moving beyond just feeling the pinch of rising costs and arming oneself with objective data. This data serves as a powerful tool, transforming a subjective request into a data-driven proposal. Consider this. A recent analysis by the National Association of Realtors indicated that in many metropolitan areas, rental price increases have outpaced wage growth significantly over the past 5 years. For instance, in some cities, rents have climbed an average of 20%, while wages have seen only a 5% increase. This disparity highlights why simply accepting a proposed rent hike might not be financially sound. So how does one gather this vital market intelligence? The first step involves researching comparable rents. This means looking at similar apartments, in terms of size, amenities, and location, that are currently listed or have recently been rented in the immediate neighborhood. Websites dedicated to real estate listings, local property management sites, and even a quick drive or walk around the area can provide this crucial information. But it's not just about what others are paying. Understanding vacancy rates is equally important. A high vacancy rate suggests that landlords may be more motivated to keep a good tenant and fill a unit quickly. Conversely, a very low vacancy rate might indicate less room for negotiation. Data from sources like the U.S. Census Bureau's quarterly housing vacancy survey can offer broader trends, but local real estate reports often provide more granular insights. What if this research reveals that the proposed rent is indeed above market value? This is precisely where the renter gains leverage, moving from a passive recipient of terms to an informed participant in the lease agreement. A reliable tenant is a landlord's dream. Presenting oneself as such can significantly strengthen a renter's position when discussing lease terms. Consider that landlords often face the costs and uncertainties of finding new renters, including advertising, screening, and potential vacancy periods. A tenant who consistently pays rent on time, maintains the property in good condition, and contributes to a quiet living environment minimizes these risks for the property owner. What does being a good tenant actually translate to financially for a landlord? Studies suggest that tenant turnover can cost landlords anywhere from 1 to 3 months' rent, factoring in advertising, cleaning, and repair expenses. For instance, a landlord might spend an average of $500 to $1,000 preparing a unit for a new renter. This makes retaining a good tenant, even with a slightly lower rent, a more attractive option than the potential costs of finding a replacement. Demonstrating a history of responsible tenancy, such as a track record of prompt payments, perhaps over 2 or 3 years, and a history of respecting the property, can effectively be communicated. This narrative of reliability becomes a powerful bargaining chip, shifting the focus from just the monthly payment to the overall value and reduced risk presented by a long-term, low-maintenance resident. When a lease renewal is on the horizon, the instinct might be to simply accept the new rent amount. However, the reality is that rent, like many things in finance, is often more negotiable than assumed. Consider this. In a market with increasing vacancy rates, landlords may be more amenable to compromise to retain a reliable tenant. For instance, a recent analysis by the National Apartment Association indicated that in some metropolitan areas, vacancy rates have climbed by as much as 1.5% in the past year, creating a more competitive environment for property owners. So what can a renter offer beyond simply agreeing to a new price? Thinking creatively about incentives can lead to significant value without directly impacting the landlord's immediate cash flow. Instead of solely focusing on a rent reduction, a renter might propose requesting specific upgrades to the unit. This could include updated appliances, a fresh coat of paint, or even a minor renovation like a new vanity in the bathroom. These improvements can enhance the living experience and potentially increase the property's long-term value, a win for both parties. Furthermore, exploring waived fees can also be a powerful negotiation tactic. Many leases include various administrative or amenity fees. Negotiating to have these charges removed or reduced can add up over the course of a year, effectively lowering the overall cost of living without altering the base rent. Did you know that common fees like pet deposits or parking permits can add, on average, an additional $50 to $100 per month to a renter's expenses? By addressing these, a renter can achieve substantial savings. Another avenue to explore is requesting additional amenities. This might involve securing a dedicated parking space, access to enhanced building amenities like a gym or pool, or even a slightly longer lease term in exchange for favorable terms. These non-monetary concessions can significantly improve a renter's satisfaction and perceived value of their living situation. The foundation of a compelling negotiation proposal rests on clearly articulating research and demonstrated tenant value. This involves compiling data that supports the requested terms, making it easy for the landlord to see the mutual benefit. Consider the proposal as a structured argument, presenting information logically and persuasively. What makes a proposal truly impactful? It's the ability to translate market. Timing is everything when approaching a landlord about rent. Initiating this conversation too early might not align with their renewal cycle, while waiting too long could mean missing out on an opportunity to secure favorable terms before they finalize new rates. A good rule of thumb is to start the discussion at least 60 to 90 days before the current lease expires. This provides ample time for discussion and decision-making without creating undue pressure. Consider the landlord's perspective. Are they facing increased property taxes or maintenance costs? Understanding these potential influences can help shape a more empathetic and effective negotiation. For instance, data from the National Association of Realtors indicates that property taxes have been on the rise, a factor that might contribute to rent increases. Acknowledging these realities, rather than ignoring them, builds a foundation of mutual respect. Regarding the method of communication, a written request, like an email, offers a documented record of the conversation and allows for a carefully crafted message. However, a face-to-face meeting or a phone call can convey sincerity and allow for a more dynamic exchange, potentially building rapport. Perhaps starting with an email to schedule a brief discussion is the best of both worlds. What if the landlord is known for being more responsive to phone calls? Tailoring the approach to their known preferences can significantly increase the chances of a positive outcome. When approaching a landlord about rent, understanding their potential responses is key to navigating the conversation with confidence. Landlords might be open to negotiation, especially if they value a reliable tenant, or they might present a firm counteroffer. In some cases, a direct rejection is also possible. Consider this. Data from the National Multifamily Housing Council indicates that vacancy rates in many urban centers remained relatively low through 2023, often below 5%. This statistic suggests that landlords in such areas may have less incentive to negotiate aggressively. However, if a property has been vacant for an extended period, or if lease renewal rates are lower than anticipated, a landlord's willingness to compromise can increase significantly. What happens if the initial offer isn't satisfactory? It's important to be prepared to articulate why a different arrangement would be mutually beneficial. This might involve reiterating the value brought as a tenant, for instance, a consistent history of on-time payments, as highlighted by numerous studies linking tenant reliability to reduced landlord stress and administrative costs. But what if the negotiation hits a wall? If a landlord is unwilling to budge, a strategic pivot is necessary. This could mean exploring options like a shorter lease term, which can offer flexibility while still securing housing. Alternatively, it may be time to activate a plan for finding a new residence. Researching alternative housing options in advance, even before negotiations begin, ensures that a lack of affordable alternatives doesn't force an unfavorable agreement. This proactive approach empowers renters to maintain control over their financial well-being, regardless of the outcome.